Thank you, Jordan, for the introduction and exposing some of my beauty secrets. Of course, I use the full skin range, collagen, I use all the stuff, but you know, we need a bit of help when we're getting towards our 50s. Right, so our introduction to the company was via the products 11 years ago. Claire Fox sent Anne-Marie a guinea pig message, so you might notice a bit of a recurring theme from the weekend of how powerful that the guinea pig message is. At that time, I was a sales manager. The last 9 years of my career, I worked in sales. Prior to that, I'd done loads of different jobs. I've been outed on some of the jobs that I've done in the past. Delivery driver, chemical industry, done a little bit of acting, but I don't like to talk about the acting. I find it quite nice today that I can be on screens, on Zoom calls, while being on stage at an event. And I think what we've realised as well this weekend, with listening to John Fielden last night and Lindsay Germain and myself, that Herbalife can be a mecca for failed actors and actresses and also businessmen as well. Because one of the things I was always looking for was to get out of working for someone else. So I set up an internet business a few years earlier that didn't quite get me where I needed to be. And I didn't take it any further because I had to invest a lot of money into expanding that business to get me out of working for someone. And when Herbalife come along, I realised that we could get started on minimum cost and help other people get in great shape and teach other people to do what we were doing. So we seen the opportunity, we went to work. Here's the homeless phase Jordan was just talking about. I'll explain that now. And we went to work and we went to global expansion team with the DMO, the business model that we had at that time. In 11 months, went to work. So you've heard bits of our story anyway through Anne-Marie already. By the way, massive shout out to my wife, Anne-Marie. She's been on the committee and the committee spent so many hours doing briefing calls and all the rest of it. It's unbelievable. So yeah, and that's why Anne-Marie's up 3 times and I'm only up once because I'm not on the committee. So looking back at that business over those years, yeah, we had a great time and there was nothing negative about the business. When we had negative things going on in our lives, we didn't have any structure. We didn't have a pathway. We weren't able to bring people through to supervisor because we didn't have any duplication. So that, for us, is why we didn't grow. And the last 2 or 3 years before we got introduced to clubs, I had to take a job doing courier driving, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, give Gav a job. Gavin lost the job. He was the worst driver I'd seen in the company, but thank God he's good at Herbalife. And some of the people in our organisation, like Grace and Gav, Amy Colley, and 1 or 2 other people, had started to open clubs. So we were reluctant to get involved with clubs, but we took a look because we'd seen the growth and we'd seen it was happening. So the proof of other people being successful made us take a look. So we went to Claire's club, we were clubbed. We realised that was the reason why we got in Herbalife, because when we enjoyed Herbalife the most, it was when we were in a community. Then she showed us the pathway. The pathway, because of the DMOs that we'd done over the years, we understood what all the parts of the pathway and what it was for. So we got involved. We decided to go and find our club. And then, because again, the things we'd learned over the years, that we understood that to get involved in a model as complex as this, we needed to take this pin off. Well, it was a Get Team pin, it's not this one. The Get Team pin at that time, and completely forget. And I'm not talking about supervisor mentality, I mean brand new member mentality. Forget all the baggage that we have from the past and go to work and become a leader. And anyone in this room can become a leader as of tomorrow, whether you've got someone in your organisation, by being high in personal production, by bringing people into your business and learning from there. One, it will fill your business, it will fill your club, but it will teach you the skills that you need to move people through the pathway. So we wanted to start from scratch. We were flippers, and we brought in Val Balfour, who you'll have known Val Balfour anyway. She come through, but we wanted to build a business with new people. We wanted to prove that this worked. Claire was told it was going to work. We had to prove that it was going to work. That's true. So we started and we went to work. And because of the high personal production, developing leaders, moving them through the pathway, we went to president's team, then we went to 15K. Now, our life is not extravagant. I was laughing with Grace when we did this call. we just like long weekends, getting away. And as I was saying, it's not extravagant. Grace said, you've just bought a motorhome, brand new motorhome. So what we've been able to do is upgrade our lives. So we're still the same people, we're still doing the same things, but we're banking money, we're putting money into pensions, we're saving money, we're securing our financial future. But we've now got a motorhome rather than a camper van, and we won't go camping anymore. Does that make sense? We're going to Canada, taking Anne-Marie's family where she grew up, and we're going to fly business class. We're going to Mauritius. Anyone else going to Mauritius? We'll be in the front flying business class. So I challenge all of you to set that goal to be flying business class on your next holiday. And before we move on to the section, I just want to thank Nick Jarvis, Wayne Bullock, Claire Fox for saying yes to the opportunity, but more importantly, sharing the opportunity with someone else in one way or another. And over the years, we've benefited from the experience of these guys in various ways, from mentoring us and helping us through all the challenges that we've had. And one day, every one of you guys could be on the stage and recognised for the President's team, even with your upline and your upline. And I can tell you now, it's an amazing place to be. Okay, so, thank you. So this is our organisation. This is our numbers the last couple of months, over 8K, times it by a few times, and you're getting warm. There's our supervisors, this is our club at the moment, and then this is our organisation, and we're just so proud of everyone in our organisation. A big chunk of this, larger chunk of this, is all new people who didn't know Herbalife before. We didn't even contact a lot of old people, did we? And I've made a note of that. We need to start contacting older people who used to be involved. So it is all new people on various levels as well. Right, okay, so the section that I'm here to talk about today is trainee activation. So I want to ask a question. Has anyone in the room not got a trainee in their organisation at this moment in time? Not got anyone in their organisation? Okay, so pay attention to this, because you could utilise this when you've got to stand up there as well. You can utilise this when you get new people in. And can I have a show of hands, anyone who got someone involved in the business, got them all excited, and then he didn't do anything? And we've also got a lot of liars in the room as well. Okay. So I looked up the definition of activation, and it's the action or process of making something active or operative, or to set in motion. And this is what we're going to do with your new trainees. When they get involved, you get them excited, and how we work through with them their first introduction. So first of all, the trainee activation process is to enable you to make a connection with that person. It's also going to help set out the guidelines of what's expected of them and what they would expect from working with you in the club. It's also going to show them how they get paid. It's going to show them how they can become independent of you right away, because you're busy. You're working in a club, you've got new customers to bring in, and you've got other trainees. So you need to get that person independent of you as soon as possible. You also want to be able to put money in the pocket. If we don't help new trainees to make money as soon as possible, they're going to leave. That's the main reason why people would leave doing anything if they're not earning any money or enough to justify. So we need to make sure that we're getting them moving straight away. And we're going to teach them basic skills. Two things are going to happen. We're going to teach them how to do the wellness evaluation. But this is the first experience they'll have with their coach's hat on of seeing you use a checklist actively. So you're teaching that we use checklists. They'll have seen a checklist before when you did all the 10-visit reviews and stuff, but they weren't focusing on that then. But they need to understand the simplicity of you using a checklist. And the goal is to get everyone, as we've already discussed, and as we've covered all the way through the weekend, up to supervisor. If we can get everyone to supervisor, this is where we generate our royalties. But if you do a strong activation, you're going to fast-track these people to supervisor, and you're going to grow your royalties in a more stable way. And then if your new people duplicate that into the future, then that is going to give you more sustainable royalty growth in the future as well. You're with me on that one? Just checking sure we're all still awake and you can understand the accent. Yeah, it's okay. They've been listening to Scousers all weekend, so you should be used to it by now. And if for all the guys who want to work their way up the marketing plan to President's team, to Global Expansion team, don't worry about the pin. Just focus on getting everyone to supervisor as soon as you can, as strongly as you can, and all the rest of it will happen. Okay, so what is the difference between a weak activation and a strong activation? Okay, a weak activation is 0 practice wellness evaluations booked in after the meeting that you're going to have with them. A strong activation is 5 to 10 practice evaluations booked in after the meeting. Can anyone see the difference? Yeah? Okay. So this is the difference between you being an amateur at this process and a professional. And it doesn't take a lot of skill, it just takes you following the checklist, but focusing on the right areas. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, just like the wellness evaluations, when we first started doing these, they weren't the best, okay? And we've evolved over the time, and I'm not claiming to be the expert at these, but we've done a few more, and I'm just going to share what works for us and some of the things that we've learned along the way. And I'm only up here delivering this because, again, my wife's on the committee. There's probably a lot of other people here who are involved and are doing just as good. You need to book in 1 to 2 hours in the diary. The very bare minimum needs to be 1 hour, in my opinion. But if you can get 1.5 to 2 hours in the diary, this, for me, is more effective. And this will make sense as to why in a minute. You need a mobile phone. Anyone recognise these phones? Yeah, Wayne Bullock, up until recently, had one of these, and then he upgraded to an iPhone. Then we need our new coach. Meet Paul. So Paul is one of my friends. He's a joiner. So in translation, he's a carpenter. Yeah, okay. So he works for a big corporation. And we need a diary, okay? We need a notebook, okay? And this is, I'm going to break down what we do with this checklist now. So we've got your checklist, we've got everything that we need, okay? So I broke it down. So what we need to be able to do first is just to warm the conversation up. I need to know why Paul wants to be a trainee coach. Does he just love helping people? You know, does he want to make a lot of money or whatever? This is a quick conversation, and as we're going through this checklist, we're writing down on the checklist next to it. Okay? Oh, sorry. And then the next question is, how many hours has he got to spend on his business? So what Paul might initially do, he might actually sit there thinking, so I'm just working in club here. I'm just going to do me 1 shift a week. But what I need Paul to understand is that during his weekly working, yeah, he needs to be on shift, but also as well, he needs to spend time following up the customers that he's got. He needs to be plugging into training, the academy calls, etc. He needs to be going to an event every couple of months, which is what we're doing today. But he also needs to be inviting half hour or an hour every day. So we need to understand how long he's got and make sure we're being realistic. So we're looking, 10, 15, 20 hours. The more hours he's got, the more we can have a proper discussion over the next part. Now, this next part, for a lot of people, they will struggle with this next section when you ask the question. People aren't used to being asked, how much would you like to earn? People live in a world outside of us where they're told how many hours to work and they're told how much they're going to be paid. We are in a position to say to someone, what do you want to earn? Jez, how much do you want to earn this month? Okay, so the first time it'll normally happen, a couple of £100. So I'm like, Paul, what is it, 200? Is it 500? Is it 900? There's a big difference. And you know what, let's just say he settles on £500 a month. Fantastic. I'm writing that down. And then when I've written that down, I'm going to say, Paul, what are you going to do with that £500? Paul might not even know what he's going to do with that £500, but he will in a minute. Because I'm going to say to Paul, well, what would you do? And if there's a pause, I'll just go, some people like want to take the kids on holiday, pay for the mortgage, buy a better car. I want Paul to think of what he's going to do. Paul needs an emotional attachment to that extra money that he's going to be earning. Because if Paul has a bit of a wobble and he loses customers, who's ever lost a customer? Now, that's the biggest show of hands I've seen so far. So Paul's going to lose customers, so I need to remind Paul while he's doing this that it's okay, it's normal. But remember, you're doing this to take your kids on holiday. You're doing this to pay your mortgage. Okay, it's positive things that we want to be doing. Then I'm going to say to Paul, okay, let's just imagine for a minute, Paul, you're a joiner. He's on his knees all the time. He's getting cut. He's dealing with customers who are complaining. I'll just say, Paul, just imagine, let's just imagine, if you could do this rather than doing your day job, would that be a good thing? And Paul will probably say, yeah, because he sees what goes on in club. So I'm going to say to Paul, okay, do you mind just telling me roughly how much it would take for you to be earning each month to be able to give up that job and do this? And he might say, let's just say he says £1,500 a month, £1,500 a month. I'm going to write that down, leave the job. Is that okay? Then, on the wall, in every area in my club, on the wall next to where we do all our meetings and wellness evaluations and reviews, I have got print-offs of the career ladder, the pathway, the marketing plan with clubs. And I'll just say to Paul, listen, just letting you know, It may be something that you may be into, I don't know, but this is the career ladder. This is how much someone earns when they're running a club. If they help other people, you might bring someone in who might want to run a club. I'm just planting it out there, and I'm just looking at Paul's reaction. If Paul looks excited, I'll just say, fantastic, we can worry about that at a later date, and then we'll come back to that. But I'm going to write that down. During this conversation, we need to make sure that I'm explaining to Paul he's still on his customer journey. Okay, Paul is still going to be coming in 3 times a week. He's going to be doing his visits. He's working on his own product result and sharing them online to keep attracting people in, because Paul's already an ambassador. He's already referred 3 people in my club, but I need him to be sharing his results, because that's the simple way, use where talk. Okay, and then I'm also explaining, as we've already had covered this weekend, is he's collecting his heart. So if he works it smart, breakfast is on me forever. Okay, he's going to get his free visits. I'm going to be paying for his breakfast, and Paul's me mate, and if I'm going to buy anything for him, it's all good for him. Okay, so this is the requirement to build his business in club. So for me, he's got to be doing at least 1 shift a week, or he's got to be doing 2 split shifts over a week. So if he's got a full-time job, he can come in the morning, 6:30 till 9, 6:30 till 9, all good, and then he's got his visits, or 1 more visit on another day. But I've got to explain to Paul, this is a team effort. He's not doing me a favour, whether he's a friend or not. He's working in club as part of a team. If he can't make his shift, he needs to go into the group and ask someone to cover, or he needs to ask someone to do a swap. And I need Paul to understand is when he's not in club, other coaches are looking after his customers. So if he doesn't come in, he's not helping other people, and then morale breaks down, okay? I'm not his manager. It's a privilege for Paul to be working his business in my club, and he needs to understand that as well. And then I'll explain, yeah, damn right, yeah. So retail sales are from his products in club. So I'm telling Paul, you just need to put some stock into club, and when your customers come in, then we'll sell the products on your behalf, or when you're in, you'll do it. But the great thing is, you can be earning even when you're not on shift. And then we're going to talk about getting his ticket for the next event. Because when I said to Paul, I stretched his imagination, it's not my job, I'm not the opportunity, I'm just the messenger. But I need Paul to understand that everyone else is going to the events, we're giving world-class customer service, and all the other coaches are going to the events to get better, and his customers are getting looked after by world-class customer service trained coaches who are going to events. So I need Paul to understand, as part of the team, he needs to go to events. What I also know is when Paul goes to the next event, he's going to have his mind blown. Any ambassadors in here today? Ambassadors, show of hands? Okay, so some of those ambassadors might have come in here thinking they were going to a cowboy party last night. You know, love a bit of, Wild West and all the rest of it. But actually, they might walk away from here thinking, I could run a club one day. So all I've got to do is do enough to get Paul to the next event, and then Paul will see the bigger picture. And again, just said it before, it's a privilege for him to build his club business in the club. Now, did anyone notice the deliberate mistake in the spelling? No? Claire's looking horrified at the screen now. So I don't know who made this checklist 4 or 5 years ago. So there's a spelling mistake in there, and this is nothing to do with the activation, but there's a little message in this. That spelling mistake has done my head in since I first seen that checklist 4 years ago. But did I change it? No. Don't change nothing. Use everything that you've been given, because it works. Okay? Don't change nothing. Cheers, Pete. Anyone who's a club owner will know what I'm talking about, but don't change nothing. I'm 15k press team. I can pay a solicitor to do a new contract. I don't need to, right? Keep everything as it is. So I'm going to give Paul a little mini business plan. Paul's a joiner. He's never probably done a business plan before. So I'm going to say to Paul, you've already got 3 customers in club. This is you. This is a little diagram. This is how we're going to help you earn your money. This is your little business plan. You're in the middle. The little circles around the outside are your customers that we're going to get in. We've already got 3, okay? And we're going to help you fill those circles. And I know Paul's just said he wants to earn £500 a month. So in the UK, because we use the profit trackers, we know 10 customers on a full plan, aloe, shake, tea, PDM, can be earning over £600 a month. That's not even including bars. So if I said to Paul, if we get you 10 customers in club, fill those circles there, you could be earning at least £600 a month, and then some if they're ordering crisps, bars, upgrading on oat apple, whatever it might be. So do you think Paul's excited at this point? Yeah? Okay. And then what I'm going to tell Paul is, we know through our numbers, by moving people through the pathway, for every 10 customers we get, we're going to get one serious coach in our organisation. Okay, that's the numbers for our organisation, and that's what that T is. It's trainee number 1. So in month 1, if we can get you 10 customers, and at some point, there will be a trainee coach there. The interesting thing is there, Paul, is that you could actually earn second and third incomes off that person as well. Okay, so let's say if we go into month 2, and then we get another 10 customers, and what's going to probably happen? Another trainee coach will emerge. How much did Paul tell me he needed to earn to get out of his job? So as I go through this process and I say to Paul, remember that job that you said you hated that you might not want to do? Do you think that might be possible if we just build this? I'm not making promises. I'm saying, do you think that might be possible? Because I want Paul to be excited. Okay, so next process. That is how he's going to earn his money. Okay? So the next thing that we need to do. So I've got to relate to Paul in what Paul does on his level. Paul's a joiner. Before Paul became a joiner and went out and did work, whether it was good or bad, and it's normally bad because I know Paul. He's done jobs for me in the past. But I say to Paul, before you got paid to be a joiner, you had to practice. You had to get used to being a joiner. You went to train and all the rest of it. I've got to teach you how to do these wellness evaluations because I can't be here to do them all the time. And once you know how to do them yourself, you're free to go and do as many as you want and get as many customers as you want and earn as much money as you want. So I'm going to get you independent of me as soon as possible. And we need to get practice. So we're just going to literally practice with your friends and family. How does that sound? Yeah, great. This is going to get your confidence up. We need to be doing them in about 45 minutes. And it doesn't matter how good or bad the wellness evaluation is. If someone's going to join, they'll join. You're not in control of that. All we're in control of is getting people into the club to do the wellness evaluations. And what I want to be able to do with Paul is give him transferable courage through the whole of this process. And this is why this bit here now that I'm talking about is going to be the longest part of the presentation or the sit-down that you're going to do. This is the most important part. I'm going to explain the process. Paul needs to know when he invites his friends and family in, I'm not going to try and convince them to join the club. I'll say to Paul, when your wife comes in, I'm going to welcome her in. You're going to be with me. I'm going to thank her for coming in. And I'm going to say, okay, Kath, what we're going to do, we're going to go through this process as though you're interested in joining this club because Paul needs to learn how to do this. He's going to do the Tanitas, we're going to do the wellness, we're going to do the 11 steps, and I might get Paul to do a little bit. And then at the end of it, I'm going to thank you, but we're going to go right from the start to the end. Is that okay? Fantastic. So Paul understands when he's going to be sending these guinea pig messages out in a minute, what's going to happen, okay? We need a mix of people. So I'll come to that in a minute. Okay, but I want Paul to understand as well is that some people are probably not going to reply to him right away. Some people are going to ignore him or take the, how the word can translate. They're going to make fun of him. They're going to make fun of him. So what I've got to do with Paul is, I want him to, so what the line I would use with Paul is, okay, imagine if your car broke down. If your car broke down now, who are the first 20 people who you would phone to pick you up, give you a jump, whatever it might be, fix your car? Who are the first 20 people? Get your book, write those names down. So Paul writes those 20 names down into his book, and then we wait. By the way, I'm actually on my phone messaging people in this next little bit. So I'm telling Paul, I'm doing my inviting while this is going on, because this is what we do an hour every day. So Paul's got writing these names down. Then I'll give Paul the guinea pig message. Paul gets the guinea pig message and sends it out to those 20 people. Why do I send those first 20 people out first? Because they're the people who are most likely in his phone book to message him back and say yes. Yeah? If he messages some random girl who we met years ago in a bar that's on his phone book, she's probably going to tell him where to go. What do you think that's going to do to Paul's confidence? It's going to go down. So I need Paul to be messaging the closest people to him that are going to be willing to help him. Does that make sense? Okay, so once we've got those 10 messages sent out, there's probably a couple of replies coming in. And then I'm going to say to Paul, listen, you're a man, you've lost weight. What happens if a woman comes in? What happens if a man comes in who needs to gain muscle and you don't know them? So we need to do a mix of people. So what does that mean? That means everyone Paul knows. So what we'll start doing then is, once those 20 messages have gone out, if any replies come in, we'll deal with them. But I'm going to get Paul to write more names down in his book. So the goal is not to send out 20 messages. The goal is to get how many wellness evaluations booked in? 5 to 10 wellness evaluations booked in. Paul needs to walk out of this meeting with wellness evaluations booked in. This is the guinea pig message that I'm going to give him. And the transferable courage thing that I've just talked about there, What I'm going to do with Paul is, again, Paul is a joiner. He's not used to booking in appointments. He turns up at jobs that someone else tells him to go to. So I need to show Paul how to book appointments. So when someone comes back to him, if Paul just messages, great, when are you free? That message is going to go backwards and forwards. We need to get this concise. We need to get this booked into the diary. So I'll text Paul. Paul will copy that message, and he'll send that out to the person who's just said, great, when can you do these times? And then if someone sends a message back saying, I'm okay, thanks, or you know, what is it, or whatever, I'll type out a message, a typical reply, to then get that person to understand that it's just for help. Is that okay, yeah? So I'm sitting it. This is the bit that takes the most time. So, little formula for you, okay? Anne-Marie likes formulas, but this one might work for this one. Transferable courage, which is you sit there with Paul, plus results, i.e. wellness evaluations booked into the diary, equals confidence. So if Paul sends out 20, 30 messages and doesn't get one reply, do you think Paul's going to message anyone when he gets home? No, he's not going to send any messages because he hasn't got a result. If we're sat there and we've got 5 people booked in, we can gamify this process and go, is right, we've got one booked in, is right, we've got one booked in. And I say to Paul, listen, when you get home, you've got a bit of time, let's get some more booked in. The more you can do, the better. Okay? Save yourself 5 minutes at the end, 10 minutes at the end to do this little bit. That's the most important bit. What we need to do then is we need to book them into Quick Start. Quick Start will tell the same message as me, but someone else is going to validate what I've told them, plus give him more ideas to expand his circle of influence, give him more ideas of people who we can message, okay? And I'll book that into the diary. So we'll have a timetable there. I'll say, okay, which one's best for you? Let's get you on that one. Recommend at least one of them a week. The more people who go on to them, the ones who will be more successful. Get his event ticket. I've already explained the benefits to him for going to that event. And then each club will have a requirement of how many products, what products he will need in his drawer. So we'll put his order on, and then we'll get some stuff in the drawer. And then what we'll do is then, there's the next event, which is obviously 40th anniversary. And then what we'll do is we'll get them to download SumUp, or iZettle, whatever application people use, so that, and again, it's exciting when he gets this, because we'll get him to start putting his products on. This is how you're going to earn your money when you're not in club and people are placing your orders. And then we'll get them set up. So in the UK, this is called Time Tree. I think it's available everywhere. And we were asked the question on the slide, about booking people in and getting organised in club. We use Time Tree. You can have multiple calendars. Me and Anne-Marie use one for our personal appointments, and then we have another one for the club. And this is how we book in our appointments. Every coach has their own colour, so we know who's booked in what. And everything's got its own set time, so there's no crossover, people don't run late. And then we also have the, what's the word I'm looking for? The rota booked in, the rota's in there as well, so we can cross-reference the rota, make sure the room's covered, and everything runs smoothly on that one. So I hope that one helps the question on there. So, quick question that might pop up. What happens if your new trainee gets a new trainee in their organisation? It's really simple. It's tell, show, try, do. Okay? And this is a great example. Brand new Active Whale team, Debbie Canavan, doing a great example here of Debbie McKenna. She'd done an activation with Debbie, but also with Kirsty, her daughter, on the left-hand side. And then Lynn decided to become a coach. But what Debbie did, Debbie Canavan, she had a little word with Debbie McKenna, showed her what to do, but then sat in on the process. And then they all did it as a group. Yeah, and then Lynn got activated that way. So that's a brilliant example of utilising. And obviously, if you've got an upline elsewhere, you could probably do it over a Zoom call or a video call while they're sat there as well. Little click, okay. And then you can use this process of the group, of the activation, sending out the messages as a bit of a group. So the left-hand side there, the example, I had one of the ladies who was a trainee, she just started. And then after club one day, I said, let's get some more wellness evaluations booked in for the week after. So I told the other ladies as well, we're booking some in if you want to stay behind after club. So I just sat there with my diary and with my diary open, my time tree open, and then we just booked, we got 12 or 14 wellness evaluations booked in between us, and as one there, we were marking it off on the board, so we made a bit of fun of it as well, and as other people are getting them in, you know, the other people are you know, getting a bit excited, and then, oh, I need to get one now. So then more people were getting them booked in, and that's again an example of Laura, Parry and Tracy as well. They're doing the same in their group. So just a couple of top tips for you. Now, once I've got Paul doing his wellness evaluations, his practice ones, we all know that if Paul's been sharing his results and he's inviting family and friends in for guinea pig wellness evaluations, we all know there's a number of those that will join. Yeah, because they've been watching, they're curious. Doing the wellness evaluation is an opportunity for that person to look over the fence and see how Paul's got that result. Okay? So once I know Paul's got people in and got a result from it, I will say to Paul, listen, mate, I'm being honest with you now. You can use this process to get everyone you know into club, because two things. One, once you're doing them on your own, you're going to learn, because I'm not here to help you. So you need to practice more and more and more on your own with friends and family. But also as well, the worst thing that can happen with you, Paul, is one of your friends or one of your relatives comes into my club one day with another coach that you didn't send a message to. So I want Paul to feel the fear of loss by not messaging his friends and family. But it also enables his friends and family to take a little look without any pressure. But he'll understand that once he's already done and got people in. So try and avoid having that conversation early on with people. And we've learned this over the years of doing this. Just focus only on Paul, bringing people in to actually help him practice. And he will message everyone without fear. Okay? Fear of rejection. Sorry. Use the checklist. We've already covered that one. Okay, meet them where they're at. Like I said earlier, all I want to do is just to make sure Paul is going to earn what he wants, but I also want to stretch his imagination, because we live in a world where anything's possible in Herbalife, and I need Paul to see that, but when the time's right. I can't convince him to go to President's team right away. I need him to see it from someone else further down the line. Do this 2 or 3 times over until your new trainee coach gets to supervisor, to get them independent, because we need to do these within a short time frame. If you do one guinea pig 1 week, one the next, I don't know about you, but I'd forget. And you'll go back again, and then they've forgotten what happened last time. So we need to do these in quick succession, one after the other, one after the other. So we need to condense time and get these booked in, but then keep going, if need be, to get everyone to supervisor. Book in your group ones, get them all done, and make a bit of fun with it as well. Make sure they leave with appointments in the diary. Okay, sorry. And again, yeah, many people aren't used to booking in appointments, and they need to understand the guinea pig message, and I can't reiterate this enough. They will only not send the message out if they believe they are sending the message out to get customers. We need to want them to understand that the guinea pig message is them to help. And again, invest your time. Don't do this as a 30-minute or a 20-minute thing. It won't work. I can tell you now, that's the weak activation that we talked about at the beginning that we didn't want. Yeah, that's the amateur version of it. Make sure you spend plenty of time on this as well. And again, like everything else, there's videos available of this going round. Again, with probably someone who'll do it a lot better than me. And then the last one, as we finish, this is Claire's line. I'm not going to claim it. Claire sat in front of me now. This is Claire's line. Activation is sending out the messages. Activated is 50%. Make sure that you do not leave your coaches alone until they are activated at 50%. Be the arm around the shoulder, be the person that guides the way, be the one that supports them, and then you'll grow an amazing business.